Okay, so in this video we're gonna take a look at how we can, using this shopping basket icon, one of these here, create an icon beside the profile menu here, which should be available to anyone at any given time. And we can just go ahead into our navbar.blade.php, and inside here we have the menu bar. So let's go ahead and just see how that looks. And we need to run npm run dev, so let's go ahead and make sure we run that, otherwise it looks a bit strange. There we go. And then what we want to go ahead and do is create a drop down here. And this is going to be something we're going to be working on over the next few videos, so we can essentially start adding items to our basket. So if you head into MariUI, you see we have a drop down here where we can potentially use this here, but I want to go ahead and create our own drop down for this course, because this is going to be more specifically tailored toward the shopping basket, and we're going to create a blade component for this. So we're going to say php make component. We're going to call this basket, and then we're just going to have an X basket here. Perfect. And then we're going to create a drop down essentially in here, where we're going to be able to view the items, maybe also just have a small quantity increment or decrease here in the drop down, and a checkout page. So let's go ahead and look at how we can add that in now. Alright, to get started with, we want to have a script down here, and we also want to, in this case, have a class of relative, inline block, and a text left. Now this SVG, we're gonna put that inside a button. And we're gonna have in this SVG a class of flex, item center, padding of 2, focus, outline, none. Outside of that, we also want to have an area expanded, set to true, and an area has pop-up set to true. We want this to be a type of button, and we want onClick to toggle drop down. And outside of that, we want below here in the script tag to have a function. So let's go ahead and make sure we have function basket drop down, return open false by default basket. And for this, we're just gonna, before we start getting any sort of proper data, we're just gonna have some dummy data here. We're gonna have a toggle drop down function, which is just gonna set it to the opposite of open. We're gonna have an increase quantity and a decrease quantity, and we're gonna have a checkout one for now. This is purely outlining it before we actually start adding things into it. So we just have the design set up here. So now we can go ahead and reference this one here, X data, and we can then call this essentially basket drop down. And now that we're toggling drop down here as well. Now for the drop down panel, I'm just gonna copy this bit in here. So this is gonna be below the button. Now what we're doing here is we're having some nice transitioning adding in. When we're clicking away, open is set to false, and we're just showing display none by default, and then we're just having these classes in here. We can add this onto the same line here. Then in here we need a P4. Then we need a template. This is going to be an X4 item index in basket. And we're going to set a key in here to index. And then what we're doing in here is we're going to show the item with the name, the variant, the image, and an increment and decrease button here, which is just going to go ahead and use this function down here. And then the only other thing we need is just the checkout button. So if we go below the template, we're going to have a div of MT4. A button with the word checkout in it. For now, we just really care about the design because the functionality is not going to be that relevant. We're going to copy the button from the product variant selector in styling. We're going to go ahead and add all of this in here. And you can see we now have this here where we can have a picture here, the button to check out, and we can increment and decrease them as well if we just fix the bug here. But we'll work on that in the next video. Essentially, we're not going to use the actual increment and decrease one that we have in here. We're going to create our own that works properly with a basket on the back end. But that's all for this video. Thank you very much for watching it. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.